showing 7 o'clock, so let's go ahead and welcome everybody and say Happy New Year. I love seeing your names, your pictures. If you can be on with a face, that's great. If you can't, it's fine. We're going to ask questions for you, for your journals. We're going to be able to kick this year off. And of course, for me, when I wake up in the morning and I go do my affirmation, somebody gave me this rock last year. I don't know if Darcia is on the link or not. But you know what? Believe in miracles. I've got my coin right here that says, I am a magnet for miracles. And I think 2026, a great paradigm for a new year is the phrase that the years are long and the decades are short. When we invest in ourselves, the years are long and the decades are short. When Ryan Holiday wrote his book called Perennial Seller, he asked the question, what are you looking at in your life? What contributions, what businesses, what ideas, what are you doing that will have value perennially, year after year, and 10 years from now? Can you look back on and say, what did I do in 2016 that has value today? And I just couldn't be more excited to welcome you here. We sent you plenty of emails and invitations, I know, and I am really, really excited about welcoming everybody. It is going to have a fun beginning and an end to what I will end this with, because my friend Nathan Ricks, nearly to the hour, 3 years ago, I had just come home from walking on the beach in Aliso Beach and Laguna Beach, and I had a text message that said, "Life is fragile." And unbeknownst to me, my friend had just seen his airplane not get off the runway. It rolled 8 times. He crashed. He passed away. He was thrown from the plane. Thank goodness his wife and the other people in the plane did live. And so we will end with that because Nathan was so instrumental in chapter 7 of my book when it talks about the 7 affirmations. So we will get into that. We've got a lot of fun ideas for you. But I'd like to start off by asking you a question for your journal, for your notes. How about the question? Starting off, how many of you know Hal Elrod? You've heard of the book Miracle Morning. Okay. I sent Hal a text yesterday with a picture of he and I. And this morning, here's the question that Hal asked me. So I'm going to ask it to you. He said, Dan, what are you most excited about in 2026? Go ahead and get your journal out there and write down one word, one affirmation, one thing you could say you're most excited about in 2026. Now, remember, we're future focused. We're looking at our future. We're not looking at the past. What are you most excited about your 2026? While you're doing that, I took the time on New Year's Day to write my new future self letter. So I really focused on my future and knowing that as I started it off, as it says, as I sit here on the threshold of 2026, looking forward like Janus. So the Greek god, the Greek mythology, right? Janus, the calendar, one has two faces, right? One face is looking back, one's looking forward. We're going to look forward today. And in 2026, the end of my Future Self newsletter for 2026 says 2026 is the year the orchestra swells again. Only this time, the music is richer, the harmony is deeper, and the crescendo shakes the heavens. So that was me writing to me. I invite you to write down, what are you most excited about? And so let's go ahead, Shar. You got the chart. You got the. I love it. Shar put it in the I am limitless. You actually said that the other day. That's fantastic, Shar. Let's go ahead and put up the first slide. We've got a couple of speakers throughout the morning. We got affirmation reset on our mind. We're ready to ignite transformation, build belief using the word affirmation. That is affirming the positivity in your life. And as we kick this off, it's the two words that transform when we say, I am. And we're going to talk about this. I love it. I'm reading David right there. I am vibrant and energized. David, what was the other word you used in text to me this week in your new book that's coming out? Put that in there as well. Oh, I love that. I am in flow. Is there an affirmation that somebody wants to put in the flow is precious. The study of flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi from the University of Chicago, his book in 1988 called Flow, is one of the great reads. It's a hard read, because it's going to really, really test your ability to get into the deep dive. But Shar, let's go ahead and go to the next slide as we're welcoming everybody to this January 3rd, 2026 kickoff. I see so many great friends. Happy 2026, our future self 2026, the word for 2026. And as I made the video yesterday on Facebook and invited people to be here, it was interesting how some people commented, I open your email on Sunday night because we committed in uh, November that we would, let's go back to that slide if we could. Committed in November. Sunday night, we just sent out the shortest email we could, like just an affirmation that says, I am whatever's on my mind, whatever might be resonating at the time. And we get thank yous. And I don't read the emails that come into the support box. My assistant does. She says, Dan, we get emails every week on these. And I'm like, well, let's just put it up and remind people. And hopefully you open those on Sunday night. If you're not on our email list at affirmim.com, you certainly can be. And look at that. I love that. Freddie, I am an impactor of people. That is beautiful. So your Sunday affirmation is in total sync with our church meeting lessons and talks. You're right on with the Spirit of God. Thank you, whoever wrote that. Fantastic. So we're so glad that you're enjoying that. Try to keep it really sweet and short because I know everybody's got a full inbox, which is why we write a physical newsletter, which we'll talk about later because that's not the point right now. Because the inbox gets so full, once you close it, do you ever go back to it? So that's why we send a physical newsletter every month. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. I want to tell you, my friend Marcy, who we've never met, we're going to give her full screen here from the great state of Michigan, I believe. Marcy and I have we actually, I'm going to actually let her tell the story of how we met. Marcy texted me the other day. Congratulations, you had a great anniversary a couple weeks ago. Marcy, good morning, and how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Well,
As you
happy
can
New Year.
see, there's
Thank
a
you for
lot more
being.
snow here than there is where you're at.
Oh yes, yes, you're going to beat me to the punch on that one for sure. But I am just so impressed with you and how you took your life on last year. You sent me a text on kind of what happened to your year. Just you and I met. Tell people how we met and tell them a little about that text message and why you enjoy being on the journey of affirmations with me.
Yeah, I mean, I first heard about Dan through really Hal Elrod's podcast because I'm a Miracle Morning follower. Hal's Miracle Morning book really transformed my life radically in 2021 after kind of a tragic loss of our father-in-law. And he was recommending Dan's Awakening Who I Am book. So, of course, I paid attention because he always has great recommendations. But really caught me on that podcast wasn't just like the content, it was really about how Dan's energy as he brings today, authenticity and really the depth behind what he was saying. And I'll just be honest, as a Christian, I've always really been hesitant about affirmations because I just worried they lean too much on like self and not enough on like God. And so, and scripture kind of teaches us the opposite to rely on God's strength and not our own. And so I was just a little always hesitant, even after reading Hal's book on that. But what Dan said, there were really two things I would say when I first heard him on this podcast that really completely reframed everything for me. And it was the I means exist and the am means with God. And whatever follows I am follows you. So when I think about that, it just kind of stopped me in my tracks because that phrase, it doesn't elevate myself. It really honors kind of that unity with God, and it really aligns perfectly with what I believe in, right? That God lives within us, He walks with us, and we exist with Him, and not apart from Him. So I bought the book, and really everything changed from there. And what I was texting, so I had to miss the last one, last meeting. It was my birthday's in December. If anyone has a December birthdays suck, by the way. And there's no ever time. So the day of our thing, like my mom actually took me out with my daughter, so we were celebrating my birthday. But what I told him was like that I'm a finisher, because I think out of all the affirmations, the I am a finisher, that was the one statement from the book that really transformed me. Because being a finisher, like I realized it's not about motivation, it's really about a mindset. Right. And the one I am affirmation I say on Saturdays, which is today, is I'm doing the mundane tasks required to finish. see, I'm kind of a high level person. I don't like mundane tasks. So, and I will put those things off. But because of that mindset shift, I just feel like I've finished all those things I've been carrying on for years, projects half done, ideas in my drawer, any sort of tasks. Like I organized my garage, I put together notebooks. I actually made 8 scrapbooks for my son for graduation, and it was done on time. And so just those sort of things, and then bigger things too, that like I joined the Faster Way at last year on January 6th, almost a year now, and really completely transformed my health. I actually became a certified coach with them, and I launched my first 4 rounds. And also at my real job, I launched a very, I would say, against the grain healthcare musculoskeletal care model that I'd really had a vision for since 2023, and really with results beyond what I could imagine. So that was really what I told him. And I think, you know, in everyday life, it's just about showing up instead of saying I don't finish. It's really about I'm a finisher and following through. And I think he mentions like that just builds confidence, but it also builds momentum in your
Mm.
life. And
One thing in closing, though, I loved our conversation because you said you shared it with somebody else the other night, and they went home and did something because you said, I'm a finisher. You're having a ripple effect on your community, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the other day I told someone I was like I stayed up a little later than I was supposed to because I really just was like I wanted to finish this by the end of the year. And so and I said and I am a finisher, and she said she texted me later and said I just want to let you know you inspired me because I told myself I'm a finisher and I finished organizing my pantry, which I'd wanted to do forever. So, and I
That's
would just
good.
say one last thing. I think what Dan's book does is I think about Philippians 4:8, and it says, whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, if any, and excellent, praiseworthy, and to think about these things. And I really think that is exactly Dan's like take that verse and really made it into, he calls us in that book to say, like, it is clear all that junk out of your mental head and align your thoughts with the truth and affirm who we are in Christ, not apart from Christ. Because the words we say, like what follows I am follows you. So if we say those I am things, what God says about us and not what the junk says about us, then I just think it makes our life so much better and our mindset. And you can inspire others, I mean,
You're doing it. You're
yeah.
doing it. Thank you so much, Marcy. I just love when I get back and forth feedback. And I'm going to tell you that the next slide, I can't remember what my next slide is. I forgot to put them up, but I have to tell you that it is absolutely amazing when you have friends on the journey. You guys, how many of you are familiar with the movie The Secret that came out almost 20 years ago to the day? You guys, it's been 20 years since the phenomenon, the tsunami of the book The Secret was so overwhelming with Bob Proctor and John Assaraf and so many others that made such an incredible positive shift in the vibrational energy of so many people. And so I have to tell you about my friend Todd. I don't know if he's on this morning yet, but Todd is a avid cyclist, a high level, effective person in life, family, cycling. He leads people and teams. He is amazing. And out of the blue the other day, he sends me, Dan, chapter called The Secret to You in the book The Secret is all about I am affirmations, or a lot of it is. And I said, it's so interesting, Todd, because when I was writing this book with Ken Shelton, the guy that co-wrote the and really wrote the majority of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But what was so fascinating is while I was writing it, I was intentionally trying not to read what other people had said about I am affirmations. And then I had a conversation with the individual that wrote the afterword to the book, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and he says, Dan, he says, that's funny. He says, because I do the exact opposite. When I'm writing a new book, he says, I buy so many new books, and these are just my starting books for the new year here. He says, I read so many new books. I want every idea, every iteration, every study, every possible angle to look at it. Can I share it in a way? And so when Todd shared this, I had not opened this book in years. And there it is right here. You can see Dr. Alan Wolf. Well, that's if you can see the quote there. He says, down at the bottom, when you say I am, The words that follow are summoning creation with a mighty force because you are declaring it to be fact. So when you get the sense, like most people in the world, that it's Monday morning. I hit the snooze bar. I'm late. I'm tired. I'm fat. I'm sick. I'm lazy. All these things, we change that. We basically are writing a prescription for ourselves. This is an invitation for you. You may even write that down. I invite me to have the best day of my life. And so, what is so fascinating about this book is it was so cool to hear when you say I am, the words that follow are summoning. And I use the phrase printed t shirts, unbeknownst that the words that follow I am follow you. And the words you use become the house you live in. The words you use become the house you live in. So I want to thank people that text me, that give me ideas. I love it when people share and they geek out on new paradigms and new shifts and new ways to look at things and words and phrases. And I have multiple iterations of what I think is the most powerful affirmation in the world. We certainly see the word creation on the screen right now because the first affirmation is I am a creator. In the beginning, God created. It was the beginning. What do we do each and every day? It's why I give you the invitation to listen to the 18-minute affirmation. 18 minutes, for those that remember, is exactly or nearly 1% of your day. If you take that 18 minutes and put the neurogenesis words into the brain, those new baby nerve cells that are being born, and you get to say, I am a creator, I am intentional, I am present. I heard somebody say, I am becoming, or I read somebody say, I am becoming. If any affirmation never feels completely genuine and authentic to you, if you can't say, I am, and whatever your word is, maybe you say, I am becoming, and then the word. You're in the process of becoming that person that is better at finishing, that is better at, as Nathan would say, we'll get to it a little bit later on. If you're going to be a better finisher, start fewer things. We tend to all start a lot of projects. Finishing is a great feeling. I think I better pay attention to the clock or we're going to be here for a long time. Let's go to the next slide. So here we go. Awakening who I am. The two words, by the way, it's always free until my first printing of 1,000 of them. I can't remember if we're halfway through giving away the free books, but you can go to the QR code, which we'll give you later in the show. If you don't have it, if you want to gift it, certainly do that and help people awaken to the idea of identity. Your identity is going to be what you give most of your life to. That is generally what I mean. If we look at a fitness trainer, somebody that's in the gym all the time, and they're in the gym all the time, we can say that person's a fitness trainer. If we look at somebody that is a librarian that lives in the library, that person's a librarian. Whatever you give the most of your life to becomes your identity. If you're a cyclist, like my friend Todd, who's always on the bike, right? People say, well, Todd's a cyclist. So this is the invitation that was so powerful and real. When I first sent my first, can't remember how many words I sent in email to Ken Shelton, because I knew Ken could help me write a book with the 7 habits in mind. And I knew we could take and craft 7 affirmations and to go from I am a creator to I am intentional to I am present. And then that powerful middle one out of the 7, the fourth sits in the middle that says, I am worthy. And when you know your worth and you can say, I am worthy, capable, I am just as worthy, deserving, and capable as anyone else on the planet to accomplish and achieve whatever my mission is. Let's go to the next slide. Roz was one of the individuals I reached out to. Some of you know Roz, some of you have worked with Roz. Roz is a light in my life because of the way she handles life, the way she shows up, the way she dealt with a setback. And Roz, let's go full screen and see if I can see Roz. The picture's great. The mountain climber, the pickleballer, the friend, the leader. Roz is featured in my book, and she's going to tell you why. Where are you, Roz? How are you? And Happy New Year. There she is.
Happy New Year, everybody. Well, what an honor to be here this morning. I mean, honestly, and to be Dan, I don't know how many times I've told you this. I just so appreciate you asking me to share my story. And I think, more important is hoping that it impacts other people. And I've had like everybody. I mean, we all have challenges and we all have successes, and we can lean on things that get us through those tough times. And when I look back at 2025, I mean, I think that your book was like stacking on everything that I've done in the past. And when you talk about The Secret, that book, I believe, saved my life in many ways. I listened intentionally to that book because I needed to create some miracles, which all happens. So funny how that happens, right? But it's just stacking all those things that you give us. I mean, if it's not the book, it's the coin that I hang out with, it's the masterminds, it's the newsletter, it's all of the things that I feel I am super grateful to have, every day that I can keep stacking on my IMs. And for me, my IMs have changed as my life has changed. There's things that I really want to zero in on. And there's the one thing that is just part of my life, which is I am grateful for another day. And I feel that to my heart. Almost sometimes brings me to tears because I think, like you said earlier, life is so precious. And I've had some, times in my life where I really had to dig deep, and but all worth it. And so, it's just everything that um, we've been given. And I think the biggest for me in 2025 is not just immersing into IM, but really keep peeling the onion back and being introduced to other books and other authors. And it's so interesting how many of them, all of us, it's got to be an attraction thing, start talking about IM. I mean, I was listening to Carl Jung the other day, and what's he talking about is I am
Wow.
affirmations. It's
Wow.
just absolute miracles. And so to me, this is our foundation. This is where we start. And I think the biggest thing is for me to be able to introduce I am affirmations to my husband, who's had some health challenges this year. And, that's a part of his life now. It's a part of his journaling. It's a part of what he reads. It's his meditation. It's, just yesterday he said, I need a few more I ams,
Mm.
and putting that in his notes and something that he can go to and really using it as our go-to place when things aren't so easy or automatic or whatever it is. So 2026 for me, my word, I think I mentioned it the other day, was limitless, but I'll tell you what word always comes back as relentless. And it's like, okay, which word am I going to use? And I love them both, and I'll figure it out because I just want one word. Not that we can't do it all, but to have this in our life, and to when I look back and I look at where I am today, and as you know, Dan, my biggest thing in 2025 was making a decision. It
Yeah.
really was. It's like I was just kind of floating around enjoying my what I think I have the best life in the world. And it's like, no, I can do more. I can help more people. And is that what I want to do? And really made a decision, my life, my business in particular, and really moving forward and having that opportunity to not just impact other people's lives, but have them carry I am affirmations with them
Mm.
without, hammering, but just as softly introducing that and really, and being an example, being, when they hear you say, I am a magnet for miracles, and I say that sometimes on the pickleball courts, and they just
Yes.
look at me, right? But it's a seed that gets planted. And I think that's what we get to do with everything that you have given us, Dan, the book, everything that I've said. And then you teach us to stack, just keep stacking all of those great things and really becoming, the best version of ourselves. And yeah, Thank you
Oh,
for
you're
having
great.
me on.
How
This
many of you can raise your hand and say you've read Roz's story in Awakening Who I Am? You know her story. It's much deeper than she just went. Thank you, Roz. We've had so many conversations about affirmations and the levels of affirmations, the stacking. We'll get to that as we close here in a minute. But it is really a powerful thing to see people live it, share it, and we'll go through those details in just a few minutes here. If you're just joining us or you came in a little bit late, we're in the middle of kicking off 2026, Awakening Who I Am. We're going to get to the 7 levels of affirmations in a minute here. Let's go to this next slide and we'll keep the clock moving and we'll kick it off right now, right here. This is something I want to share with you because I've had so many conversations with people that have dealt with trauma, that have dealt with setback, heartbreak, aches, and pains. I was no different. I did not know how to handle my friend Nathan losing his life doing what he loved to do, which was fly his airplane. It took me months of really processing that trauma. So 3 weeks ago, on a Tuesday evening at 11 p.m., my second son-in-law, his name is Doug, an unbelievable entrepreneur, family man, friend, golfer, just married my second daughter, 4 kids. He plays in a men's hockey league. And I never could figure out, why do you want to do this, Doug? You're a scratch golfer. We play golf all over the place. Life is simple. Nobody kills themselves, hurts themselves of any, magnitude other than maybe back injuries on the golf course. At 11:18 or something, as he hit the wall going for a puck, the scream was so loud that my son-in-law, who's a foot and ankle surgeon, heard the video, played it to his mentor that's a foot and ankle surgeon. And the surgeon said, everyone in the rink that night, because of what they heard, will be traumatized. And so when I think about all of the conversations I've had with people regarding health, finance, career, mental, physical, every type of possible trauma, I got back to thinking deeply about what's in the book right here. And you have to go through these 7 levels. You're going to first think to attract the healing. So I try to tell Doug, hey, look, you're healing. Everyone that I meet that's on this journey of physical malady, if you will, the quote that comes out of my book is that not everyone can be cured, but all can heal. So think it to attract it, the mental perception. And you want to say it out loud. You want to be able to hear the vibrational energy of the voice. You can go right there and read. When you voice it, you hear it. And then you go through that process and you keep stacking as Roz was saying. And then you write it. Like this morning, I'm writing things, words, phrases, ideas, just so I could be hopefully on point with you here today. You write it to see it. And then I learned from a great interview. I wish I could find it one day. It was Bob Proctor interviewing the man that wrote the book called U Squared. And that book is sitting right behind me on my counter. And he says, not only do you need to write it, but you need to feel it. And so then when I heard Neville Goddard say, feeling is the secret, I thought this just worked perfectly in the sensory stacking. And so if you feel it, to touch it, you can engage the sense as we talk about in the book there. And then you can taste it. I called my daughter Crystal. She's in the book and she's featured because she overcame a disease called Susac that attacks the eyes, the ears, and the brain. Very, very few people ever heard of Susac. And it is a really unfortunate thing because you can lose your sight, your hearing, or your mind at any moment. And she didn't want to be a part of the Facebook group. She didn't want to be a part of what anyone thought about what healing was about. And I said, Crystal, I said, when you were healing, she went into her own room every day and it was filled with affirmations, unbeknownst to me. This is like 6 years ago. And I said, could you taste healing? And she said, Dad, what do you mean? And I said, I remember Nathan reading a book when he was dealing with some foot pain and some other issues physically. It was called Medical Medium or something. And Crystal read that book and heard about as how many of you remember the celery juice to start your day? The big, huge, massive trend. Everybody was waking up and Costco was running out of celery every day because everybody was buying so many stalks of celery. And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, you started your day off with celery juice. Could you taste healing?" Oh, Dad, I could taste healing. And so we stack every possible way to go through think, say, write, feel, taste. And then I remember saying to one of you, maybe it was Roz. I think Roz, it was you. Could you smell? And you were like, Roz, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, was there essential oils? Was there something? And Roz, if I'm quoting you correctly, I believe you said, yes, fresh air. I craved fresh air.
Yep, that's true. And yeah, it just brings it all back. But that was the first. And actually, my doctor, my neurosurgeon, actually said to my husband, take her outside.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah.
How many of you in some way can relate to the sensory stacking that we've put on the screen here? Okay, you ready for the crescendo? I almost said conundrum, but it's a crescendo. There we go. Q. There it is. What is Stephen Covey's contribution to the world was the seven habits, but it wasn't just learning the seven habits. He said, when you learn something new, it's incumbent upon you to share it. Because when you share it, you believe it at another level. And when I go to my AA meeting, because my friend Xander, who's also featured in the book, who I just went the other night, I want to say it was 13 years he's been sober and clean from opiates, of which he was addicted to $500 a day. And so, how do you overcome that kind of trauma? He leads an AA meeting. He leads an addiction recovery meeting. He's always helping other people. He's always sharing what he knows to be true. And as you share, as it says there in the book, you connect socially with others. You spread the positive energy and you push the momentum forward. You enhance your influence about the topic. And so this to me is sensory stacking. Let's go to the next slide as I look at habit stacking, sensory stacking. I have a friend on the screen that's one of my favorite people to geek out about when we talk about books. And I just thought it's 2026. We're looking forward. We're writing future self letters to ourselves. What is your future self? Remember, the greatest thing we can do to make our present better is to make our future bigger. And when we make our future bigger, our present is better. Our past becomes reframed to say it happened for me, not to me. And so when I saw this book and I saw Marshall Goldsmith, I had never bought his book, but I knew he was known as this guy that charged $1 million a year to be your coach. How many of you would like to hire Marshall Goldsmith as your coach? It's only $1 million. But guess what? He only charges you if your business grows by X and your company makes way more than just the million. So let's go full screen and bring up my friend Bill Toth. Bill, 3 years ago today, it was a rough day. I was looking at pictures of you and Nathan and your wife and friends on his plane and places we've been. And so if you'll take it off mute and just talk as we talked a little bit about yesterday, because we often talk about what got you here today won't get you there. You're going to have to do something different in life. And Bill and I share the same barber. We've got a lot of things in common. And God bless you and Happy New Year, my friend. Thanks for taking a minute.
Good morning. Yes, I'm getting hit real hard this year, and my I am phrase is I am a grateful lifelong learner,
Mm,
and I have been December 31st in the morning. My wife and I went to attend a funeral. It was the woman that was first to hold Lindsay after she was born.
your daughter.
Yeah, we called this woman at 2 a.m. when Julie's water broke and said, "Hey, can you come over and stay with our son while we go to the hospital?" And anyway, so she passed. That evening, we go to a New Year's Eve party, which is a tradition here in the country, in a barn, outside barn with a stage and music, and it's for the high school kids. And the parents and the high school kids go to this party. And two of our friends came by and they were very kind of like moping along and what's going on. Well, their son-in-law had a massive stroke and was being life flighted to a hospital. Then yesterday morning, I open up my Facebook and there's like 50 pictures of Nathan. And I'm like, okay, what is the message I'm supposed to get here as I go into the new year? I am grateful that I'm still on this planet. Why am I on this planet? And what am I supposed to do this year? That's the question that's been rolling through my mind and my heart. Um, the answer out of this little book, we reread things and things hit you at a different time. So
Yeah,
I
true.
opened that book and the thing I opened up to was one of the faults, one of the bad things that keep us in place. And that was, I tend to use sarcasm when I'm trying to poke at somebody.
No, not Dr. Bill. No sarcasm.
And that's part of the old disease I used to have called having to be right. And um, so that hit me. And then the other thing that hit me was the end of the book. Basically, the point is forget about focusing on success, focus on service.
Mm,
And as we enter this year, we're with a healthcare company and we have a new device that we can help people with. And we're also living in a country and in a world where probably 80% of the population that we touch every single day is not healthy. And we get to serve them. One of the things we learn in med school is like if you are driving on the highway and you see a car accident, you're obligated to stop because you have a higher level of knowledge, you have a higher level of learning, and the Good Samaritan law in 49 states will cover you whatever you do at that accident scene. So those of us who have a knowledge of health and wellness, Roz has a very intimate knowledge of health and wellness, and Roz, as a sidebar, when your husband says, I need another affirmation, I am, tell him to go within.
mm.
Don't get it from you, go within. And if I don't go within, I go without is a phrase that I repeat a lot because that's everything that we need in life is already within us.
Yeah.
And books help us highlight those things or become aware of those things. And I'm going to leave with this, Dan, or add this. Earlier this summer, I took a class, a 4-day class on nothing but the 12 cranial nerves. And so when you open that page about sensory stacking, I'm like, yeah, that page is missing, 7 out of the 12 nerves because Socrates made us focus on only 5. And so sensory stacking happens even when we don't know it. Like
Hmm.
our other 7 cranial nerves, 5 of them are just taking in information, and 2 of them are also putting out information. And so we are sensory stacking all day, every day, whether we know it or not.
Great point.
Um, and then that sensory stacking turns into habit stacking, like you showed with Stephen Covey.
Yeah. If I could ask you, because you used to work with Tony Robbins years ago, you've got a book you put out many years ago as well. But what would Tony say is his favorite word? Do you recall?
Passion
Passion and certainty, right? He
and
always
certainty.
loves those two words. He loves passion and certainty. So those are great ones. Thank you for sharing that, Bill, and thank you for helping people get a little perspective and a paradigm, if you will. Like you said, when you go back and read these books, you get new ideas. And I mean, here I am picking up a book called The Secret, and I have a paradigm of watching the movie. I have a paradigm of interviewing John Assaraf on one of my Saturday morning shows, and all the Bob Proctor and others, right? So fascinating. Thank you. Please go ahead, Bill.
You mentioned Bob Proctor. I met Bob many times and had many breakfasts because he's an early riser. He was an early riser. And so, whatever hotel we were at, I would meet him for breakfast and we'd have awesome conversations that went from A to Z and back and forth. But one thing he did that struck me, and it fits the book, The Secret, that you just picked up, is he carried in his breast pocket an old, worn, leather bound edition of Think and Grow Rich,
Everywhere he went.
dog-eared, highlighted, written in, colored tabs on the pages. He said, He carried it with him, and wherever he would be waiting for something, waiting for a plane, waiting for a car, waiting for a person, he would open the book and get a new distinction. He said he
Absolutely.
reread it hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times.
Yep.
And so you pick up the book, The Secret, and I was upstairs yesterday in my library looking for it.
After I shared the story. So, well, fantastic. Thank you so very much. I think we have one more slide, maybe two. Let's see if we can't just kind of bring it all together. My friend Stefan here, I want to tell you that sometimes you know people and you move and you change career paths and different things. And I remember spending time with Stefan McNeil on a different business we were in years ago. We were in gyms and we were in hotels and we were doing all kinds of things together up in the Seattle area. And Steph and I first met from the Chicagoland area, and it's just somebody I've known now for, I think, 30 years, Steph, if I'm not mistaken. And so when I talked about the sensory stacking, and we were on the phone yesterday, I really wanted Stefan to come on because of the paradigm of what got you here won't get you there. So, Steph, top of the morning to you from Seattle, Washington. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Dan, and thank you. I'm really humbled to be on your show. Thank you.
It's good to see you and the family, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year as well. And it's good to be seen. Thank you. Awesome. Before I get started, I just want to say I am so full listening to the depth and breadth of which each speaker shared their story, their life, their journey is very enriching. And I got copious notes. Well, not necessarily copious. I got a bunch of notes. And so thank you all for sharing your heart. And Dan, thanks again for reaching out to me. And yes, it's about 30 years, Dan, and getting to know you. And I just appreciate your friendship, your leadership, and always dropping words of wisdom. I appreciate your calls and opportunities just to speak with you. So when Dan and I talked yesterday, a couple of things came to mind, and in terms of what got you there won't get you, what got you here won't get you there was, kind of my past, hope and belief, what I shared with Dan. And so, if you just bear with me for a minute, I just want to bring you up to speed on my journey. And so, when I was a sophomore in high school, um, my counselor, after taking an aptitude test, um, he said to me as I'm looking at him, Mr. I won't say his name, and he goes, Stefan, as I look at your test scores, your future appears to be your future is probably at Roper's. And I'm a sophomore in high school, and he's telling me my future is in a factory. And now, him looking at my paperwork, looking at everything going on, I understand that, but hit me smack in my face. And I never forget that moment. I brought it up as soon as Dan talked about this. I brought the same thing up yesterday. And so I left that meeting, and I felt like, man, I don't have any hope. And it wasn't 2 months later, we get a new teacher at the same high school. His name is Mr. McKinney. I will say his name. And he pulls me aside in the hallway, and he says, they call me little Steve. He says, Stevie, he said, can I talk to you? I said, sure. He said, what's your GPA? I said, GPA? He said, yeah, grade point average. I said, now what are you talking about? He said, you don't know what a GPA is? I said, no. You don't know what yours is? I said, no. He says, well, I'll tell you. Your GPA is a 0.089. And
Mm.
in my head, you know, I'm rounding it up to 10 and I'm thinking I'm good, right? And I go, I'm good, right? And he goes, no, no, son. And I could see this face of resignation, just like, no, no, it's you're not good. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, on paper it says you're an intellectual midget. Now, I was sharing part of my story with Dan. Eighth grade, I got kicked out of my house from protecting my mom from getting beat up. And I left with the police and I got cussed out. Nothing hurt me more than being called an intellectual midget.
Mm.
And that's what he said. He says, but I believe you have potential and I want to help you. He said, I talk to your teachers and say you're really smart. You just don't do anything unless you challenge. He said, I've been to your father's gambling house and I've seen you there at 3 in the morning DJing. He says, and I know what's going on with your home and the drinking that goes on. He said, this is what I need you to do. He said, I want you to quit playing baseball and come run track for me. We'll leave track practice. I mean, leave, and then we'll go to my second job. I'll help you with your homework. And so that's the belief side. And that sophomore year was so pivotal for me in terms of my backstory, where I came from, the things I went through from eighth grade on to now this sophomore year. All these things are happening, and God brings this angel. That, the Bible talks about sometimes we can be entertaining angels unawares. God brings this gentleman to my life who was not from where I was at, and helped me. And subsequently, I got my grades up. I ended up getting a scholarship. Ended up playing college football. Ended up getting married, having kids, owning an insurance company, building, selling that with Allstate, and getting involved in networking, having some success, and then having some really great success recently. And so I share that story because Dan's always talking about words and always affirming, and how a lot of people that I've met, and you all have probably met too in your journey in business, where people have so much baggage they bring into the table of the opportunity that we don't necessarily know when we're dealing with people that they got these stories until relationship gets to a point where they can open up. And so Dan was one of those people in my life where 30 years ago, early in my marriage, I get involved in my first direct sales opportunity. I meet Dan through my mentor, Dr. Bess, and then a gentleman named Randy Strelo, and it's very, very unique. So the power of words, as I close out, Dan talks about your habits are your limits. I just belief in self. Doesn't matter what the narrative's going on around you, what people say. And you all know this, that never let someone's opinion of you become your reality,
Yeah.
right? But if it's someone speaking affirmations in you because they believe in you, I think that's something you can take to the bank. Dan has believed in me. Dr. Bess always believed in me. And then once I learned to internalize that and not think about the past and go, okay, the future's bright, no matter what circumstances come up, that fuel from the past gives me that energy that I need, and we've been able to sustain it. So I'm very grateful, Dan, for having me on, and thank you. And I saw some names on there, Dan, on the roster, on the participants, Ed and Gary DeRitter. I remember those cats, and thank you.
Remember those cats too. Those Jim Rohn cats.
Yep, I remember them, man. And thanks. I invited some people: Steve Harris, Jennifer.
Oh, it's
I think
great.
Roz is on there. There's a bunch of other people. Paul Mender from London, some others on there. Thank you all for joining in
Ah,
on this call, and I appreciate that. If I didn't name your name, just know thank you. I'm not looking at the list anymore, so
yeah.
the names escape me. Thanks, Dan. I'll turn it back over to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I got one more slide for you. There's really a crescendo to all of it. I really thought, how can we bring this finisher thing together? How can we bring it all together? And so I thought, what are some cinnamon? I work through not cinnamon, synonyms. And I looked at what are other ways. So as we conclude, and Jim Rohn, I hear Jim's voice in my head all the time, and he says, I'd be happy to sit on the front row and listen to you. And that's why I always invite speakers because I'm inspired by stories. I hope you're inspired by stories to know, as my one of my great mentors said, that we should all seek, interesting choice of words, we should all seek and expect miracles in our life. And so when I say I am a finisher and people say, hey, Dan, I can't tell you how great it was in 2025 that I finished this. And I thought, what are some synonyms of that? I am a doer, right? I am committed. I am disciplined. I am persistent. I am relentless. I am victorious. And if any of those affirmations never feel that total, genuine, authentic you, put the word becoming in there. I am becoming a better finisher. The finisher concept with my friend Nathan is something that I will rarely ever go a day the rest of my life without thinking about this notion that there you go, Coach Steve's got the cinnamon's good too, right? I am a finisher.
And yeah, and they're all talking. How long was that? Just
I know that I've got one last slide to share with you. I'm going to invite you. Here's the QR code, I think, on the next slide for my book if you want to give it away. Shar, have we got that next slide? Sue's in there, Aunt Sue, Uncle Mike. There we go. So there's the when you are you can buy the book for free, and if you want to up to the newsletter, we send out a physical newsletter every month. So we now have 7 of those. Our next newsletter goes out next week, and we are diving deep on the word systems. Every aspect of life is built on systems. All life is built on systems, the physical, financial, emotional, you name it. It's always going to be based on, and you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And we're going to talk about the origin of the word systems and actually what's the acronym for the word systems. And so if you choose to become a newsletter subscriber, the QR code's right there. We do a Zoom class every month. I have my frequency audios in there, Jim Rohn audios that I've recalibrated to 432 frequency. So if that serves you, I invite you. It is a fantastic, doesn't matter what company you're in, if you're a school teacher, if you're in insurance, if you're a direct seller, if you're real estate, doesn't matter who you are, what you do, these newsletters will work because of the word accountability. When you show up and you are accountable and participate and play all out, we do great things together. And so I just want to share with you that this is a class that we did the one in November, and we'll do one of these like every quarter or so when we just go out to the masses and remind people that affirmations are real. They're powerful because of those neurogenesis, new baby nerve cells that are being born every single morning. What are we programming? Like my mom, I think I've said this before, it was get the newspaper at the door, have a cup of coffee, and light a cigarette. Okay? I say, whoa, stop, halt. Let's go to the 18-minute affirmation. Let's saturate the mind with affirmations. Let's put the neurogenesis to work and become our best selves this year. Next slide. We have this picture in my mind because 4 years ago this week, there I am sitting next to Nathan in his plane, and he just loved to fly. He said this. I have goosebumps saying it. We're flying over before St. George, if I remember, and he just looked out over the landscape and he gave gratitude for the journey that his life has given him. Aren't we lucky, Dan, that we get to do what we do and touch people's lives and be a light and be positive? So I hope today there's something said in something that'll make it in your neurogenesis, your journals, the stacking, all of these things. We'll email this out in the follow-up newsletter for all of you that participated and some that couldn't be here this morning. Have the best day of your life. Have the best year of your life. And remember that the eyes can only see and the ears can only hear what the brain is looking for. I
Mm.
am grateful for you. God bless you. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Roz. Thank you for all my speakers, participants, the comments that you've given everybody. We'll just take it off mute. You guys can thank the speakers here, and we'll stay with you for about another minute or so before I run to my next kickoff meeting of the day. God bless you. Happy New Year. Thank you
You
so
too.
much. Great to see your faces and appreciate the
Thank
camaraderie
you.
and
Thanks,
the
Dan.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
sir.